This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Hello, America, and welcome to the #1 radio station in all of Fort Myers Beach. Beach Talk Radio. Here are your hosts, Kim and Ed Ryan.
And good Monday evening, Tuesday evening to you all for our episode of Mondays with the Mayor. And we're going to get to the mayor of Fort Myers Beach in just a short moment. But we always like to read a few letters to you when we start off the show. And this first one says, Dear Ed and Kim, thank you for all you do for our Fort Myers Beach community. We're so grateful for the hard work and commitment you put into keeping us informed. We're all back in Michigan now for the summer. See you in October. And that was from Star with a $100 donation. And this one from Kevin and Kim, just a little handwritten note, which we love, of course, that says, thank you for all that you do. And another $100 check, which keeps things rolling. And finally, enclosed are 2 checks, one for 2 Silly Pint cups, which we are enjoying. The other is for whatever you want to do with it. I got the cups, but didn't include payment when I ordered. So this is what the $50 check is for. I thank you both for all you're doing. Wish we could help. Hopefully we will get there next winter. We hope to meet with you. That's from Barb and Denny. Boarer. Oh, Warren, right on the checks. Thank you for the donations. I want to remind everybody that tomorrow.
Oh, yes. You gotta let me say something.
Well, I didn't even know if you were coming. Nice to see that you popped in.
The Park Royal, we talked about this on the weekend on Saturday. Park Royal Hospital with a bunch of other folks are having the Resiliency Roundup, and that's going to be on Wednesday from 10 to 12 at the Diamond Head. And there's going to be all sorts of stuff there, including Ed in yoga pants.
No,
so I just wanted to mention that.
That got nixed by the censor. And they did give us an update today that there are now 50 vendors that are going to be there, including the 2 horses that they'll have downstairs. I'm not sure you're going to be able to actually paint the horses. I think they're there for therapy.
The horses are going to be there. So
yes, 2 horses, dogs,
sorts of clinicians,
yoga. Mm-hmm. And of course, today's show is sponsored in part by Jorge Barrera, the #1 top producer in Lee County and the #4 individual agent in the entire company. Out of 1,500 agents, he works for Premier Plus Realty with over $25 million in sales for 2022. If you are looking to buy or sell on Fort Myers Beach or elsewhere, give Jorge a call at 239-791-9893. If you're still looking for demolition help to get some of that garbage and other stuff removed from your house, debris. You can call Mike Bannock. Debris. He'll remove it for you at it won't be free at 352-636-3719. That's Mike Bannock. I know, usually pops into the Saturday show like Jorge did on Saturday. So give Mike a call if you need debris removed at 352-636-3719. And the mayor is not joining us today. It's Mr. Frustrated with Comcast. Would you care to explain that nameplate there?
Do you want me to start with it or do you want me to end with it? Because I literally just got off the phone with them. They hung up on me. Let me rephrase that. After being on the phone with them for an hour and a half, they accidentally got disconnected. So I can either start with or end with it. You decide.
I think we should start with that, being that you have it on the screen.
So, after the storm, like everyone else, our equipment and everything was washed away, and we called in and put it on a hold. Well, after about, I think it was 5 or 6 months, somewhere in that range, I got a refund check in the mail from them, and they had canceled my account. So I called them and they said, "Yep, we canceled your account. It was a mistake. Don't worry about it." Another month goes by and I get a text message saying that I have to return my equipment or I'll be charged. So I call them back and say, well, there is no equipment. It's with everything else in the back bay somewhere. We'll get it taken care of. So I was going to call in today to get my service set back up for when we get back in. And at the same time, I'm opening up the mail and I've got a bill for $166 for equipment, lost equipment. So of course I call them and, sorry, we'll take care of it. I actually get a ticket number from them saying that they took care of the charges. They transfer me over. I was a little hesitant about wanting to sign back up with them. So they transfer me over to the new account place. And of course, like everything else, you have to give all the information for them to proceed to tell me that they can't reinstate my account because my account is in collections for this lost equipment. So of course I blew a gasket to say the least, that like, you're telling me this is in collections, this better not go on my credit report. Well, let me get you in contact. We'll put you, and then, they go on and on. I said, I don't want to speak to someone that's reading from a screen. I need to speak to a manager. We need to get this taken care of. And I was trying to get it done before we jumped on so I could maybe calm down a little bit, but it didn't work. And that's when we were, while I was waiting for the manager, it came on to that automated thing again about our new service and, what can we help you out with today? So I was redirected. So if anybody out there is listening that has any direct contact to Comcast, I'm guessing I'm probably not the only one that's dealing with this, along with the FPL issue that we're dealing with the billing on that. So I can get in contact with FPL. So that chain of command I can work through, but Comcast, I have nothing. So if anyone out there knows anyone higher up in the Comcast food chain, please let me know, because I'd like to reach out to them first thing tomorrow and let them know how I feel, because I'm guessing I'm not the only one.
You would think that a company like that would assign somebody or a group of somebodies to take care of the people on Fort Myers Beach who they know have no homes. There's no equipment left.
And the best part is they send you things saying, thank you for being a valued customer for over 10 years, yada, 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 yada. And then they treat you like this. Then you wonder why people are cutting the cable and going to Verizon or going to T-Mobile or going to other things. It's because your customer service is garbage. And now you're sending people to collections for something that you shouldn't be doing. That just angers me to no end. So, like I said, anybody out there listening, okay, I feel better. I got to vent a little bit. Sorry.
Do you want to throw something in there?
Just going to agree with you that there should be somebody set aside, or somebody's. It's not just it's Fort Myers Beach. There's a lot of areas. So there's a lot of people that are dealing with this enough that it should be given some special area.
You would think they would have better processes. I literally have a ticket number from a representative saying that it's been taken care of. And in the same call, they tell me it's in collections.
Well, yeah, and you think that every account has a screen where you get an update on what's going on with your account, and no matter which operator from India or Istanbul or Bulgaria gets on the call, could see the screen that says, okay, this is where this account stands, but it doesn't even seem like that's the case with Comcast.
It's a debacle. It's an absolute debacle, and either they don't know what's going on or just don't care. But it's as I said before, people wonder why people are cutting the cable to go to other forms of streaming and internet, and it's angering.
Well, yeah, we don't have cable.
We don't have cable.
And I come from a background of doing that. I was with DirecTV for a long time, so I understand the frustrations that it goes in. But this isn't even a frustration. This is just incompetence, in my opinion.
Well, somebody
wait,
okay.
I'm going to start with that because Dan had a bunch of updates.
I've got a few things, if you don't mind me starting off with it.
Let it rip.
Yeah.
Now that we got through the Comcast and FPL thing, and in the FPL thing, I don't know if I touched on that or not, but I did put out a post a while back that people are starting to see 6-month bills sent in one big, large increment from FPL, myself included. So you need to reach out to them. They are doing some things. It's nothing major. To offset it if you can't pay the entire bill. So reach out to them. They were very friendly on the phone with me. Their customer service was good on the phone with me. So we're working through it and everything's fine. But it's when you get it, you're going to get a little bit of sticker shock, depending on if you're on the budget or however you're paying your monthly bill. But They are coming out, so keep an eye on your mailbox, or if you don't have a mailbox, your PO box or whatever, because you'll be seeing it, or your online app, which is how I take care of it. So just keep an eye out, because if you haven't got it, you're probably going to get it. Okay, so Bay Oaks, Jeff, as I told you on last week, he's the new director. He's now going to be heading up the redesign project for the Bay Oaks project. BORCAB has started back, so they're going to be providing the input as it moves forward. And also the summer camp registration is still open for 25 spots. It's going to be at the Mound House this year. So just a little bit of information on that.
Well, where do they register? Where can they go to register?
You can Bay Oaks. I don't remember the exact website, but if you go to the town's website and go to Bay Oaks, I'm sure there's a link on there. I know Jenny Dexter is listening, so Jenny, if you could pop that link up where they can go sign up for the summer camp in the feed over here, that would be great. The debris removal, as we know, as I mentioned earlier, ends today. I talked to Barton from Crowder Golf today. There was 3 houses that were torn down over the weekend and pushed to the curb, 2 on Miramar and 1 on Madera. And then as of today, there were 2 more that were pushed to the curb on School Street and Egret. So just a friendly reminder that I wouldn't do that tomorrow if I were you. They are paying close attention to what's out there now, and tomorrow, if it's out there, or if it's out there tomorrow, it's likely not going to get picked up and can become very costly to you. So just be mindful of that. You will probably see a couple debris trucks, for the next few days, picking up stuff. It's not going to take one day to get the entire island with a final sweep. So they're coordinating. I'm trying to get some information from them as to what streets have been done. There's been, I think he said, 6 streets that have received complaints about debris that's been sitting there for a little bit. So they're going to start on those first. I don't have those street names, but then they'll be going systematically through the streets. But he's working on getting me that information so I can update you guys with it.
Okay, Dan, before you move on to the next topic, just to be specific about the debris removal, because there are different elements to it. What you're talking about is that extended time frame that Barton told us about at the last town council meeting for the side streets only.
For the right of way, the town's right of way.
Right.
And so that is Estero Boulevard. That does not, or Estero Boulevard right of way. Just the town-owned right-of-way, which would be the side streets as well as North Estero Boulevard.
And it also doesn't mean that if you're in the Ian Debris cleanup website to get your house demolished, that it won't be picked up. It will be picked up, but it's just a different process. So you shouldn't freak out if your house hasn't been knocked down yet, because that will still be picked up by that different, setup. Yeah,
that's correct. So as Ian Debris takes that down, they'll get rid of the debris, and then there'll be a different contractor that comes in and grabs. My understanding is there'll be a different contractor that comes in and grabs the concrete portion of that. So it does not include if you were in the Ian Debris residential pickup program.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think you guys already touched on the mental health resilient roundup tomorrow at Diamond Head.
Yep.
I don't need to go over that. Mound House, the kayak tours have returned to the Mound House. So you can go to the moundhouse.org to sign up for that. The museum is now open on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., as well as the grounds. The underground exhibit is the only thing that's still needing some repairs. So, again, that's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. That includes the grounds. And the kayak tours are back open.
I would say that we went yesterday, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, so I went yesterday, and it was open yesterday. So I don't know.
The kayak launch.
The ground. Yeah. The grounds were open so that you can, drive your vehicle in. You can drop your kayak, and then you have to move your vehicle. You can't leave it there. But I so appreciated that being open and easy launch. And the bathrooms were open, which was a plus.
Yep. I know, to keep messing up, today's Tuesday, not Monday. So
right.
The permits, we'll touch on the permits. There's no rhyme or reason to my list here. It's just kind of in the order as things were thought up. I just wanted to give you some updates on numbers. So as of May 1st of this year, 8,285 permits were submitted. 5,270 have been issued. of those 3,015 have been closed. 28 are ready to issue, and 576 are in review. That's as of May 1st.
Okay.
This month, I got some numbers for this month. 420 applications, 160 have been issued, 39 are waiting for payment, 58 are waiting for a document, 133 are under review, 20 are incomplete and were rejected, and 10 are void. They were accidental duplicates or not FMB addresses, which happens more often than you think. So that's kind of the breakdown of this month. I'm going to try to provide you at least once a month with some issues like that, so people understand that what the numbers look like and why they look the way they do. But that was to date as of May 1st, as well as this month's numbers.
When you
were saying that some of them were not in your, purview of, and that happens more often than not, where are they coming from?
Usually it's unincorporated Lee County. The contractor will submit the address to Fort Myers Beach, not knowing, because the zip code is Fort Myers Beach, they'll submit it to Fort Myers Beach, not knowing that it's actually unincorporated Lee County. It happens more often than you think.
Okay, so you say through May 1st, is that from the date of the hurricane, or is that for the last year?
The 8,000?
Yes.
That's since the hurricane.
Okay, so since the hurricane, which is 8 months, you've issued over 5,200 permits in a given year. Fort Myers Beach usually
sees
puts
about
out
2,000 permits. 2,000.
So just to give some perspective, in 8 months, it's over 3,200 more permits that you've issued. And I know you still wish it was better, and you're still working on staff.
There's still room for improvement. There's still room for improvement, but it's progress. Every day is a little bit more progress. So, any other questions about the permits, or I'll just keep moving on?
Yeah. Wait. Do you think then overall? Do you think that the beach is still in a phase of debris removal?
Yes. Yeah,
That's
there's
crazy.
still houses. I mean, there's still houses. Obviously, you drive. You guys go up and down the street. There's still houses that need to come down. That you obviously can't live in them. There's still debris that's been sitting there that hasn't been touched since the storm. So, yeah, we're not, just because this is ending doesn't mean that we're out of the weeds, if you will, for the debris cleanup. Crowder Golf's aware of it. We're aware of it. Now starts the phase of how do we address that? We do have we do have a contract with Crowder Golf, an ongoing contract to be able to pick it up, but it's going to come down to who's going to pay for it.
I remember when we talked to the folks up in Mexico Beach and, with Michael, and I remember them saying the number of months that they were still in
years
debris cleanup. And I think it was 18 months. I mean, so
right.
It's going to take a while.
So how does eventually, like when you look at the Shamrock and you look at Tropical Sunset on Old San Carlos, I mean, those two buildings, now they may be caught up in insurance or other things that we don't know about, but at some point they are going to have to get picked up. And there's other buildings, they're in the same boat. Does the town start to put more pressure on those businesses or property owners to try and get it cleaned up, or to try and understand what phase they're in, so that part of the process can move along too?
Yeah, I've got to believe that's, one of the next steps that's going to be very difficult. And talking to all the people that have been through this before, it's a difficult process. And when I say that, meaning, you have to start talking to people who have lost their businesses and lost their homes, and it becomes a life safety issue. At some point, you have to get these houses down. We've all seen some of these houses and commercial buildings that look like they're going to fall in on themselves. And God forbid someone's in there monkeying around and the building comes down. I mean, it's a very, very serious life safety risk, and the town takes it very seriously. And I know the fire department does. And we'll do what we have to do to make sure nobody gets hurt, because that's the last thing we need or want.
All right, well,
I mean, honestly, somebody could be walking by, and if something were to fall, it could ricochet.
All right. Well, Dan's reading the next. While you're up to the next issue, I'll just leave that up there because Jenny was watching and she's got the info there. So,
in regards to cleanup, and debris removal. When I was out kayaking yesterday, there's still so many boats that are in the mangrove. I was surprised. I mean, in a kayak, you can see some of them from a regular boat, but getting in the kayak, you get down areas, besides boats, there's a lot of stuff in there, but just the boats. Now I saw a barge out in the water that had a big crane on it, and it had a boat on it. So is that kind of what's going around picking up those boats? Do you know?
Yeah, there's been, if you've noticed or anybody's noticed, there's been helicopters that have been flying over.
Yes.
They're being dropped in there. They're identifying boats, and then you're seeing these barges come in and haul them out. So, they got to identify a boat, then they got to try to find the owner of the boat, notify the owner of the boat. And so that's a little bit of a process, but you're starting to see them going further and further into the mangroves now, repelling someone from a helicopter, which looks really cool and fun, to drop down into the mangroves to look the boat over and get what they need and get them back out of there. But that's kind of the process we're at now.
Okay. Yeah, I was shocked that there were as many boats, but also shocked to see how far large pieces of debris, like people's water heaters, had gone so far into the mangroves. It's just, every time I go, I'm just shocked at how much is in there and how much big stuff is in there. So, that's going to take a while.
Yeah, there's a, just as you get the big, we took the boat out for a couple hours this weekend, and just to kind of go around the mangroves and see what was back there. And if you, right as you're coming out of the no wake zone in a big Carlos Pass, there's a huge container still sitting in the mangroves just to the left that, obviously we have some friends of ours that are in from out of town from Minnesota, and they came along with us, and they had a funny, well, that's not supposed to be there, is it?
Yeah, right.
Nope.
Right. We're all seeing it for the first
Definitely
time.
not supposed to be there.
Nope.
By the way, as we're going through all these topics, if you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat box and we'll bring it up. And I did want to let everybody know this is going to be in the newsletter on Friday, but Keep Lee County Beautiful is organizing a cleanup on June 10th in collaboration. I'm sorry?
That's one of my points. I was going to bring that up. But,
sorry. Go ahead. Go right ahead.
So there's we updated the website over the weekend or over the last few days. I think Jenny handled that. If you have a concern and you need to report a concern to the town, there's now, if you look on the top left where it used to say red alert or something, it now says report a concern. You can click on that, put your information in there, and it'll go into the proper department that needs to respond to it. The town gets about 100 reports this way a month, and that allows them to track pending and things that have been status notes and things of that. So if you have a concern, that's the quickest way to get a response, is to go to that report a concern button on the top left-hand side of the home page of the website.
I'll see if I can pull it up here real quick so people can kind
there
of see.
you go. You can see it. Mm-hmm.
Right on the top left-hand corner there.
Yep. You click on that, you can fill the information out, whether it's a water break, any kind of major issue like that. It goes through, and it's pretty easy to fill out. And that allows us to track it. Like I said, fill out some status notes and things like that.
All right, cool.
I've got actually 2 shout outs I want to do this week. The first is, we hear about the negative a lot, but we never hear the positive. And someone sent me an email that I just want to read you real quick, if you don't mind. It's very short, but I think it's important to give kudos to those that receive praise, and then I try to send it off as fast as I can when I get them. It says, I know everyone is always first in line to complain when things don't go right, but I think it is important for you to hear when things do go right. I just had an interaction with the base staff, including Todd Sears. They were courteous, respectful, professional, and honestly just plain nice. I left the office with a smile, and that's usually not the norm with people that walk out of that office. But seriously, the whole attitude is so much different in a good way from a year ago. The change is so good to see. So thank you to Todd Sears and his team for getting a good email. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And also we know that the Publix opened right on Thursday. So while I was there, actually I didn't notice it, but I was informed of it. A couple on the island who I won't say their names, but I noticed as I was walking by right after the storm, like many people were in the store grabbing stuff that they needed to survive, whether it's toilet paper, whatever, people that lost their entire home, that were clinging to trees or whatever. But I noticed this couple was in there or just leaving there. Didn't get a chance to talk to them because I was kind of on my way to try to do something else. And they were at the opening. They were at the opening, not to shop, but to give them a check for the items that they took.
Mhm.
So that was cool to see, or coolly. I didn't get to physically see it, but I was told by Vice Mayor Adderholt that he was there as well. He saw that. So, but I don't want to give their names, but everybody knows who they are. So I thought that was a really cool thing. And shout out to them. If they're listening, they know who they are, and great job.
And if you did see our post on the Publix opening with all the pictures of everybody in the parking lot, they did post what they did on there. So if you're interested in going and finding out who it is, you can go back and look yourself and see who it was.
I didn't get a chance.
That was very cool.
Yeah,
it was very cool.
To see.
And by the way,
Go ahead.
Publix did donate $5,000 to the Beach Baptist during that opening for supplies that they use for their community resource center.
They did also donate. I stopped by Buttonwood today. They did also donate a bunch of pastries and bread and stuff. So if you need bread or anything like that, head in there tomorrow and pick it up.
Nice.
There's a lot of stuff there to choose from. So, it's pastries and bread. It doesn't last forever. So stop in and get it. Town Hall. We finally received the final sign off from the CRC at FEMA to be able to tear it down. Now we're just waiting on the date because we're we're on the Ian debris cleanup schedule now. So as soon as I find out, you guys will be one of the first ones to know. I'm still pushing to get the first swing at the building. So I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I'm still pushing to try to do that. Waterway. My waterway cleanup. You already mentioned it, but I'll finish it. The Keep Lee County Beautiful is hosting a waterway cleanup on June 10th from 8 a.m. to noon in conjunction with the Mound House and Moss Marina. The goal is to clean up the Estero Bay Aquatic Preserve and Yacht Basin by boat and kayak. Participating volunteers will be entered into a raffle for 2 round-trip tickets on the Key West Express. So I'm not sure if that's what you were going to read, but that's what I have in my notes.
Yeah. And just to touch on, as Jorge just typed in there, just to touch on Buttonwood, if you folks need something that Publix doesn't have, or maybe that, you might not have money for, you should go to Buttonwood because it's stocked down there, and it's official 501c3, and they do have money coming in. They do have grants. They do have people donating truckloads worth of supplies. So you should go down there and check it out. If you need something, as long as you have proof that you live in 33931, then you can take stuff.
Yeah, and if you need something, talk to Heidi or whoever else is in there. Whoever else is in there working, and they'll do what they can to help you out. If they don't have it, they'll see what they can do to get it. But yeah, they have plenty of food in there. So if you're hungry or need some food, go in and get that. Your favorite topic, Ed, Bayside Park. Still no updates. But I will tell you, and if I haven't told you before, with Bayside Park, we all know the frustrations that I've had and others have had about there was no electric in that park, which I still don't get. But so we're working with DRMP to put together that so we can put it out for bid. We can't, because of the way the money reimbursement works through FEMA, you have to put it back exactly the way it was. Now, that doesn't mean you can't prepare for doing something after that, but FEMA will only reimburse you for what you had before. So
sure,
we're about to work through that. We're still hoping for that to go out for bid soon. I believe somewhere in early June is the target date. So it's not forgotten. It hasn't, it's red tape you have to go through.
Did I hear correctly that it's going to cost $2 million?
I have not heard that number. No.
Okay. All right.
Nowhere near that number.
Okay. I was going to say it wasn't even built for that much. How could it be? How could that cost be accurate?
Well,
but that's
DRMP is the company that designed it and did the drawings on it, so they know more about it than anybody. So I've heard roughly about $500,000 it could cost, but we haven't seen numbers. That's what they're working on now. Be able to send it out for bid to see exactly what needs to be done and what they could save, what they can't save. So we're at that. But I believe that has been signed off on. Don't quote me on it. I have to check tomorrow, but I believe that's been through the FEMA process. If it's not completed, it's really close to being completed, the final sign off. So then you can start actually doing something on it. Speaking of that, bid solicitations. We never really talk about that. And I've had some people ask about where they can find it. If you go to FortMyersBeachFL.gov/949/bids and proposals, you'll see.
Jenny, come on. Gonna have to type that in, Jenny.
Jenny will put it in there. Jenny's listening. Because there's actually 2 little dashes between bids and the end.
Gosh.
So I don't know if they're
website,
but that's in there. But that'll show you the open bids for the town's website. Like I said, road and sidewalk repairs in there now, partial re-roofing of Mound House, side streets, stormwater and improvements, stuff like that. Give you a little update on the beach berm. So there's 20,000 linear feet that need to be constructed. Of that, about 15,000 have been completed so far. So about 75% of it's been done. 123,000 tons of sand were needed for it. About 116,000 tons has been delivered to the island already. So that's about 75% complete. So we're moving along with that pretty well. I kind of touched on a little bit already, but the boards and committees are starting to meet again. BORCAB and SEALCAB are meeting at Mound House when the museum days are closed. So the town's worked out the YouTube to be able to do the YouTube live stream from there for when those meetings are happening. So people that can't attend can at least watch it via our YouTube channel. I've got a couple things for the community. Congratulations to Yucatan for reopening on Friday, their latest place to open up inside. They were kind of open outside, but now they're open inside. And I think I saw on their website or on their Facebook page, they were touting the only air-conditioned bathrooms or something along those lines.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I thought I caught something about that on there, which I thought was pretty clever and funny. But I see you got the link on there.
No, it was not the SEALCAB. It was the other committee that didn't they condense? You condensed a couple committees back before the storm.
Well, there was talk about doing that, but it never really got finalized. If I remember correctly, it was talking about
SEALCAB and BORCAB. Yeah.
I was trying to convert some of those into BORCAB, but I believe that there was wanted it to go back to talk to the committees to see if that's what they wanted, or did they want to keep this stuff separated, and it never got finalized, so they're still separate.
Right.
That's correct, Nancy. I know that's why I kind of found it funny. I just read Nancy's comment.
Yeah, and we were down there spreading some financial love, and it was nice to see the Yucatan open up, and they had a nice crowd going, and it was by the way, it was a great big crowd on Fort Myers Beach on Memorial Day, Dan. So I mean,
it sure was. You know, the Kohler family is they're just great people. They're good business people. They're good community partners. So I'm happy for them to see that they got that opened up, and for their staff, because their staff is always really good. So it's nice to see another old face coming back, if you will. Yeah. Probably not the right way to put it, but you get it.
Familiar face.
Yeah. Face. I got some numbers. Speaking of Jorge, because I thought it's interesting information that I think that the public might want to hear, and I'll try to update these at least once a month if you think it's valuable information. But I think it's very interesting. So I wanted to reach out to him. To ask, about the real estate market and where we're at to date on some of the numbers, because you hear all these crazy things out there, but you're not really sure. So I asked Jorge if he would look into that for me, and he, as of the 24th of this month, there are 351 currently active, 85 pending, and 262 have been sold. And he actually went as far as to break it down for me. So
Dan, what numbers are we talking about? It went completely over my head. You said what numbers?
These are the numbers including single family, condos, manufactured homes, vacant lots, and commercial properties
that are for sale.
That either have been listed or what are active, currently active, what has sold, and what is pending. So
351 on Fort Myers Beach. Gotcha.
Are currently active. 85 are pending, and 262 have been sold. And I had asked them for these are the numbers from since the storm.
Okay. We saw there's a lot of for sale signs out on that island. Everywhere you go, you see a lot of signs.
So here's the breakdown if you're interested in the numbers. Single family, there's 83 currently active. Again, this is as of the 24th, so the numbers could have changed since then, but 83 currently active, 29 pending, and 130 sold. All other residentials, including condos and manufactured homes, 132 are currently active, 34 are pending, and 82 are closed. Residential multifamily duplex, triplex, or quadplex, 11 currently active, 3 pending, and 10 have sold. Vacant lots, there's 87 currently active, 17 pending, and 38 closed. And in commercial, there's 38 currently active, 2 pending, and 2 that have sold. So those are the numbers as of the 24th that provided by Jorge. So thank you, Jorge, for that information, and he's willing to help me with that anytime I need it. So I think it's nice to keep track to see how things are trending and what's happening and not happening. It was something from the very beginning that I was very interested in, and I thought it helps paint a little bit of a picture as to where we're going, what's selling, what's not selling. It's difficult, to my understanding, to find out exactly who's buying what, but it gives us a little bit more in-depth information as to what's going on real estate-wise on the island.
Yeah, and as Kathy points out, that's for MLS, so there's obviously more going to be for sale by owner to make those numbers a little bit higher. But you can't,
Correct.
You can't get what you
Can't
can
get
get.
exact, but it gives you a pretty good, synopsis of what's going on. But Kathy's correct.
I thought those numbers would be higher. I mean, they seem low to me just by eyeing the number of signs. But
yeah, I did too. But I trust Jorge. He's very much in tune with what's going on. So I'm sure as we go forward with it, he'll help me as much as he can. If there's ways we can get for sale by owner stuff, I'm sure there's got to be a way to show that. I don't know if I'm not a real estate agent, so I don't know if sold shows up on the MLS, even though it was for sale by owner, but I'm guessing it might. The mooring field, just want to touch on that real quickly. The expansion of the 19 spots to hold the larger boats on the north side of Matanzas Pass Bridge. It was completed in February, so that brings our total up to 89. Underwater debris has been located and it's marked for removal, and a report's been sent to the state for assistance. So just to give an update that's been completed. I don't know if we'd covered that before, if anybody knew about it, but those 19 spots are back up and running. In the Public Works Department, the bid for the restoration of the town street signs has been prepared and it's under review. We're working for the town. We're looking at options to be able to add the town's logo to the street signs, about 200 of them. Just to give you an update. Yeah. Resilient Lee, that's something that should be in everybody's forefront as we move forward. If you haven't done it, I know that you guys posted out a link, and I know a lot of people have jumped on, but it's very important that you go to resilientlee.com and fill out that survey. It pops right up on the screen when you go there. It basically asks you for the information. This is our way of letting them know what's important to our community to be able to try to get some of that $1.1 billion. We know 70% of it's got to go to HUD funding. Depending on who you ask and what we've been told, there's not a lot of that's going to fall to Fort Myers Beach. But we did submit, and I think I've got this, I'll just go right to it. We did submit, I don't remember exactly how many projects, but basically everything we've ever asked for, we've submitted on Friday to the porthole for them to review, so that the committee can start looking at all that as well as other municipalities. So if you haven't done the survey, go to resilientlee.com and fill that out. It's very important that we have a good showing from our community of what we need and what our wants are. And that's a way to get your word heard directly to them. I believe it's anonymous. I don't believe you have to put all your information in there. I did.
And for anybody that's interested in talking to Kevin Ruane directly, he's the county commissioner who's in charge of this entire committee. He'll be on the show Saturday at Wahoo Willie. So if there's one show you want to come down and start asking questions about that money, it's going to be this Saturday's show at 11 o'clock. About CenturyLink. We're gonna jump around a little bit now, Dan. I don't know if you had a chance.
I've only got 2 things left, but I told you I had a lot but yeah, jump around and ask them what you want.
So one of our followers, I'm going to just throw some pictures up here. Bob's sent in these pictures from the south end. All this CenturyLink equipment that's just been laying around and looks nasty. I'm not sure it's CenturyLink. I'm taking his word for it. There's no reason for me not to take his word for it. But
I've seen CenturyLink fans there in the past. That the town manager is aware of it. It's been assigned to Jason Freeman. So Jason's got the ball and he's running with that to deal with CenturyLink. So as soon as I hear something from Andy or
Okay.
Jason, I'll be sure to let you know. But
That's
we are now
okay.
fully aware of it.
The
On
second
another note,
part.
there was a lot of complaints. I shouldn't say a lot, but we did have some complaints of people this weekend driving onto the beach with their
got pictures.
vehicles to pick people up. And I got that email this morning, sent it off to Captain Layler, as well as our town manager. We're fully aware of it. They'll be looking for them. So we're going to do what we can as far as trying to block that off as best we can to keep cars out of there. But if you're coming to the beach, you can't drive on the beach. You can't drive out there to pick up your umbrella, and you can't do it. It's not legal. It's a bad idea. It's not safe. But I got an email of someone was very confrontational with someone that told them you can't do that. Don't get confrontational. If you see something, call the Lee County Sheriff's Office. They will respond to it. But do it while it's happening. It's very difficult to do stuff afterwards. So if you see something like that, that's what the Lee County Sheriff's Office is there for. Give them a call. They will respond and let them handle it. It's not your job to try to get in a confrontation with someone over this, but give them a call. They will show up and take care of it.
Yeah, and the best thing you can do is what I think probably got the same email that I got over the weekend was you just take pictures and you try and get a close up of the license plate and call the sheriff's department. I mean that's really all you can do and all you should do, and they'll take care of it. I mean you're not. If you don't know by now that you're not allowed to, that this isn't Daytona and you're not allowed to drive on the beach, then you deserve to get in trouble for it. I mean, especially with the new berm there and the turtles out there now, and the turtles loving the berm. It's just, I mean, and you can run somebody over.
Well, to steal the words from Vice Mayor Adderholt, most people are very good, but you do have a lot of bad actors out there. And on weekends like this weekend, you do get some bad actors that don't feel. Although the pictures from this one looked like it was a local, it was someone that had Sam Galloway covers on their truck or their license plate. So I doubt it was anyone from a different area, but you would hope that people could be a little bit more understanding or at least use some common sense and know that you're not supposed to drive on the beach. I doubt it was the first time they've been down here. But again, I appreciate the pictures and I appreciate the license plate number. And Lee County Sheriff may or may not reach out to them. I don't know. That's not my job. But the first thing you should do if you see something like that is call the Lee County Sheriff's Office so they can react to it.
If you can't, walk out on the beach and walk your stuff back, then, you got to figure out something else rather than valet service onto the beach. I mean, that's great.
It's very angering because so many people, volunteers from all over the world, and our staff and the state people, everyone has helped to get that beach to where it's at, which it's extremely clean considering what we went through 8 months ago. And to see people disrespected and try to go backwards, I just don't know how people can sleep at night thinking that's a good idea. So if you see something, say something. Make sure you call and let the sheriff's office do their job.
All right, we have to make sure that we touch on this because it happened after last week's show, and that is the meeting at the Beach Baptist with the developer and the 8-story condo. I mean, it was the most commented story we've had on our page since we started. I mean, that's how involved and interested the community is in something that big, that close to Estero Boulevard in a neighborhood that's trying to rebuild. So, what were your thoughts on the meeting?
Well, it wasn't really anything different than the meeting I had with them individually. I didn't really see any major changes other than what originally was shown to me was obviously much smaller and pushed back a little bit off of Estero Boulevard, which is one of the things that I had mentioned to them that what they originally showed me, I knew that there was no chance they had a rough uphill battle at this meeting, as we all saw, or at this public thing. So I think they still got some work to do. I think that was heard loud and clear from the people that were there. I was only there briefly. I talked to Pastor Sean just briefly when I got there. He was receiving a lot of feedback from some of the neighborhood residents one-on-one. So I didn't want to bother him too much. I did speak with the other people that you had on your show. I was watching and listening, even though I wasn't there. And I think they got the consensus of what the issue is, and we'll see how they address it and come back.
I mean, there's no path to 8 stories. Is that a correct statement? There really is no path to 8 stories on that spot.
Under our current comp plan and land development code, no, and the zoning that they have. So I believe you briefly touched on it in your show is it would need some sort of CPD to be able to even get close to that. But again, I think they covered that the reasons why they're doing it or why they need to do it to make it financially viable for them. But as I've said many, many times, it's not the responsibility of what I was elected to do to make sure that the dollars and cents line up for everybody that wants to do everything. We have a land development code and we have a comp plan that currently states things. You have ways that you can get to a maximum of certain things. On how you get there is kind of up to you. And until I see all the numbers and the final proposal or what goes before the LPA, it's really hard to comment on what ifs.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to ask you that. So not 8 stories. How many stories could be accommodated with the current situation, or is it none?
Well, again, I mean, as I've told other developers that I've met with, they say, well, we don't know. Well, technically you do know, because we have a comp plan in place that tells you exactly what you can do. Now, should you want to work within that comp plan and build what you want, then you don't have to ask for anything. There are avenues for you to ask for more. If you think that you need more than what you're allowed through whatever zoning that you go through, there's a process. You can go through the CPD process and you can reach out to the decision makers and to your community and ask for what you want. And the community will tell you loud and clear what they think, as we saw at Beach Baptist. And you have to decide as the person building it, if that's something you want to move forward with, if you want to adjust it, go back to the drawing board. I mean, that's up to you. But our job as council members is to look at what's proposed, what comes through the process that comes before us. Then you can start evaluating. So you can't really say this many stories, that many stories. I mean, all I can do is give the advice of, we've already talked about FAR. I think it's been, pretty clear where the LPA and the council stand on that. So there's other adjustments that we know are going to have to be made to allow certain things, just because of the way we have to build back to certain heights for the regulations for flooding. So those things can be looked at, but I don't like being told that, well, this is what I need to make the numbers work.
Right.
As much as I understand that, I completely get that. What numbers are we talking about? Are we talking about the numbers of the maximum amount you want to make, or just enough to get by? Or again, that's where I go back to the numbers. It's very, very difficult to
and some of the details that the developer told me on the show was that there were going to be like 42 units and they were going to be sold for like multi-million dollars. And not that means anything. I can't see an 8-story condo being built in that spot, no matter which way they try and finagle numbers. But the thing that I wanted to mention is that on some of the comments on those stories that we had, people get angry with the LPA and with the town council. And I mean, that didn't make any sense to me. Just because they make a proposal in certain parts of Fort Myers Beach, it doesn't mean it's ever going to be approved. You have to, people come up with these cockamamie ideas all over the place, some that you haven't even heard of yet, that are going to be insane when you finally do hear about them. But they still have to go through the process. And I think this council and LPA are more in tune to what the Beach Baptist area community wants. It's I don't think they're so radical that these elected officials are going to say, well, shit, you could have 8 stories right there because we're getting community workforce housing there. It's just I've never seen anyone on those committees act that way.
Well, no, and it a proposal is just that, a proposal, until it actually goes through the system and it gets brought before the LPA for their input and then eventually to the council. We really have no say in it. I mean, we can meet with them and we can tell them what we think, but or where we stand, or we can tell them nothing. That's kind of up to us. But these developers, most of these developers, they're not stupid people. They didn't get to where they're at to not know what they can and can't do by right. So, I can't blame anybody. We all understand, and I certainly support economic growth. But they're to me, I get asked this all the time, and I'll say it again. What's the most important part or what's the most important thing in Fort Myers Beach? And then that is to not lose. We know about the buildings and we know about the heights and we know things are going to look different and all that, but you can't lose that balance, in my opinion, of commercial, residential, and visitor. You can't, you have to maintain that balance. If you go too far one way, it's not who we are. It's not who we've been. There's always been a good mixture of commercial. There's always been a good mixture of residents. We just, everybody fought so hard for the beach school. So to go too far to make it commercialized, what was the point of having the argument to keep the school? So if you can keep that culture, if you can keep that balance, that's the most important thing. And how many stories and, the size of the footprint and all that stuff, that'll all get worked out through the Comp Plan and Land Development Code, through public meetings and through the process. And that's how we're going to determine what the height of a building will be, or how much the density is within that building, things like that. That's going to have to go through the process, because without seeing actual numbers and a hard proposal, we're all just speculating, because these proposals change, and we've all seen it. They change 3, 4, 5, 10 times sometimes.
Yeah, and the last rumor, of course, that I heard was the folks that want to buy the Outrigger are looking at like some 13-story building that they want to put there. I'm like, if that's true, and I don't know that it's true, that's something I heard, and so it's really just speculation. If that's true,
I will help you with that. So I've met with them twice.
Okay.
I've met with the potential buyers twice. I have not seen a single plan. They have not proposed a single plan to me. They haven't talked about stories. They have talked about, what does Fort Myers Beach need? What does Fort Myers Beach want? What are the things that are important to the island? So they've asked the questions of what's important. They haven't just plopped down a proposal and said, this is what we want to make the money work. They want to make sure that, based on the information I think that they hear from myself and whoever else they've talked to, or in the residents that they talk to, that they want to move forward with the plan that's going to work for them. But they also have been very intuitive about what is important to the residents on Fort Myers Beach. There was no talk about exclusive, you know what I mean?
Exclusivity.
Being exclusive. Yes, thank you.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, and I mean that's the difference between what the developer that you talked to, and in my opinion, the guy from Atlanta who it appeared to me didn't listen to anybody, or didn't even tune into anything what was going on down there. Because if he did, you would be able to see what was going on. Like the people
I can tell you the people that are looking at the Outrigger are paying attention. They're reading everything. They're reaching out. They're listening, because they're saying things. Without the 2 meetings that I had with them so far, they've said things to me that I didn't have to say to other developers. They have said, we know this is important. We know this is important. We've heard this, we've heard that. And they're trying to develop their plan about what's important to them. It sounds to me that they want to be a community partner. They want to be, they've got developments everywhere. It's about making money at the end of the day for them, but what makes sense to them and what makes sense for the community. And they've been flat out and said, if what we're allowed to do or not allowed to do doesn't make sense, we just won't move forward. But if it makes sense, we'll move forward. So I can appreciate that. And I really like that mentality about what can we bring to Fort Myers Beach versus here's what we're going to bring to Fort Myers Beach.
Well, from the comments, it looks like people want a tiki bar at least included in that plan. So,
well, I will tell you that I did say that. I did tell them how important the Outrigger was to this community and to the residents that came down, and even the visitors that have come down, year after year, that go there for the sunset and the conch blowing. And I told them how very important that was, and they know that that's a very important thing for them. And they also, that property is also across the street. That's the old Charlie's Steakhouse, Charlie's Boathouse. They understand. They're listening. Nothing is finalized. Like I said, I haven't seen a plan yet. So anything beyond that is just speculation.
And what's really going to be interesting to see is when the Red Coconut property sells. I mean, we were driving by yesterday. It was just like, man, this property is massive. Whatever goes on there, if that's like one developer, it's going to be an interesting thing to watch.
Again, I have not seen any plans for that. I've heard some people interested in it. but I have not seen any plans. I've heard that the potential people that are looking at it are looking into doing what they can by right, but they also can go through a CPD process. So I really don't have a lot of information about that property.
And the difference is that's zoned differently. Like Beach Baptist is institutional, so they have to start right off the bat with trying to change the zoning. Over at the Red Coconut, it's a whole different story, right? They do have a lot of rights because that property was grandfathered in.
Well, based on how they're zoned and through the comp plan and all that, they have things that they're allowed to do by right. Now, whether or not that makes financial sense, again, I'm not a developer, so I don't know. They're the ones that are going to have to look at it and move forward, whoever buys it, and we'll see where that goes. But again, these are not stupid people. you don't get to the point where you could potentially buy a piece of property like that we all know is going to be very expensive, and not have a plan for what you want to do.
Yeah, I think that's Christie's statement that, that you're not going to buy it and work backwards to see what you can get.
Right.
You need to know what you can do when you buy it.
Right. Well, it's a much smaller scale, but anybody that's ever gone into a car dealership to buy a car, you go in there wanting to pay the least amount, and the car dealership wants you to pay the most amount, and you got you negotiate down to, and the car dealership knows what the bottom dollar is they're going to take for that, but that doesn't mean they're not going to ask you for more, pay for more. Now, this is in the old days. Now it's like you got to pay sticker. It seems like there is no negotiation, but you get my point. It's at the end of the day, I think anybody that's looking at these large pieces of property, they know at purchasing that they know what they need to do to make the numbers work. But I doubt that most of them are going to start with this is the bare minimum to make work. And again, until we start seeing some numbers and things start selling and coming before us, we're all just talking about what ifs.
Dan, last question before we let you go this week. There was a friend of ours who came down to visit us. He's in a wheelchair, and he was at Wahoo Willie's, and he wanted to go down across from the Whale to a place down there. And the sidewalk from Times Square to where he was going was just was covered with sand, like to the point where you can't get a wheelchair to go up and down the sidewalk to where he wanted to go. Do we need to do something again to clean off the sidewalk from Times Square to, almost halfway down Estero Boulevard? I mean, we have no problem doing it. It's just, it's getting pretty thick there.
Well, is it from sand that's blowing over, or is it from concrete that's missing? There are some sections that concrete's missing that needs to be repaired.
I think it's sand.
No, it's sand.
I think it's sand.
Total sand.
It's just sand from blowing.
Mhm.
I'll talk to the town manager about that tomorrow. I don't know if you're supposed to have silt fencing up for anywhere that there's sand, so to help prevent that. But I would think that we could probably get Public Works out there to.
Oh,
to fix
all right.
that.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're all happy. We're always happy to do it, but it looks like there's a lot of work going on there too, and that. Sometimes the work that's being done, I mean, you can't prevent it from being dragged out onto the sidewalk and into the road. So, but anyway, I just wanted to pass that along. And yeah, Jeanette says, so.
I mean, we certainly can't stop anybody that wants to clean up the sidewalk, but I'll talk with Andy tomorrow about it and see if there's something we can get Public Works, because you got to be able to get by there, especially if you're in a wheelchair.
Is Andy still liking his job?
Well, I think so. He's either a really good actor or he's enjoying what he's doing. But I got two last quick things I want to touch on before we go, if that's okay. That were on my list. The Times Square redevelopment. We're coordinating with a design team and agencies for a final plan and permitting for the utilities portion of that. We're also finalizing bid documents and plans for the stormwater and utilities, and coordinating for LAP grant options and things like that. So that the utilities part of that is still moving forward. I know John Lalo had reached out and asked about that. So just wanted to give an update on that we're obviously got to do the underground work before you can do the above ground work. And now is the time to try to get it done. So we're moving forward with trying to get that going. And then the last thing is the utilities department. Power was just great news. Power was just restored to both water pump stations. Before that, there was only one. So power has now been restored to both stations, and we've been able to give those generators back to the state, which is a big thing. We've got one new customer service and 2 utility storm techs that have been hired, and road and drainage repairs that are needed on tier 1 streets, Bahia Villa, St. Peter's, and Anchorage are under review. So those are the updates for the stormwater and Times Square. Other than that, I'd probably make a couple pages of stuff. So I don't
Nice.
tried to cover as
Love
much
all
as I
the
could.
updates. It's
So
nice to see everything being updated. So that's great.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to it.
I'll try to every week, give you some, hopefully not as long as that, but maybe as long as that. But there's a lot of information out there that maybe people
Yeah.
didn't get through, press releases or things that maybe weren't press release worthy, but I think are still important for people to keep up on, so they could see that, we are making progress. We're moving forward, and keep the hope alive.
All right, man. Good to talk to you. We'll see you in a week, if not before that.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
All right.
Thanks.
Mayor Dan Allers, everybody. And before we go, I don't know if you saw this picture, so I wanted to put it up there. Look at that. That was from Turtle Time this morning. And one of the things Dan touched on earlier was the berms out there. And I saw Eve in the scooter on, I don't remember what day it was, maybe Sunday out there or Saturday when I was out there running. Yeah, I think it was it had to be just when they were finishing up their checking.
So cool.
And
I can't.
yeah, so she said that the turtles absolutely love the berms. So that's pretty cool to see that.
Be gangbusters. Yeah.
And we'll have a complete update on all the turtle numbers from Fort Myers Beach and Bonita on Friday in the newsletter. But of course, our show is sponsored in part by Valerie's Lounge and Liquors, which is located right across the street from the Walmart on your way to Fort Myers Beach. So please make sure you stop and say hi to Valerie and their entire family. They have on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, they have cash bingo with progressive jackpots and drink specials, trivia at the bar on Wednesday. The local band Flying Hasselhoffs plays every Thursday night. Queen of Hearts on Wednesday. They have dart and pool, fully stocked liquor store with lottery and scratch-off tickets and space for fundraising if that's what you want to do. And I noticed when we made our stop at the Lighthouse yesterday, you guys were playing some kind of bingo game.
Singo.
Okay, what is Singo?
So it's like bingo, but they're playing songs and you have to recognize the song, and then you put a little marker on your card. You had little daubers that you could put down there. And so if you get, 5 in a row, you get Singo.
What was the prize? Did you win anything?
We didn't stay long enough to win, and you weren't helping me. I'm not so good with knowing all the songs, but she was good about saying them afterwards for those folks like me who don't really know. But we were playing in a group too, so that helps.
Yeah. So that was
did not want to play. You're not a game player.
Yeah. It's so nice to see people out wearing the shirt or just chatting with them about the show, that they know the show, and it was a lot of fun yesterday, although too much time out again at the beach.
Yeah, too much.
At Wahoo Willie's, and then Yucatan, the Lighthouse, and then La Ola.
It was a great day to get out on the water. I honestly was surprised that there weren't more boats in the water, because usually, in a kayak, you're like, please don't get too close to me.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take much to really make that boat go crazy.
How many miles do you think you kayaked yesterday?
Well, it felt like a lot. I went from the Mound House down to Snook Bite, and then I went around there a little bit, and then I came back and I headed back towards Wahoo Willie's, but instead of coming straight, I took a right and then went up under the little bridge by Oh God.
Cherokee?
Yeah. And then went under there. That bridge is really little. Only a kayak could get through there. So then you got to go around the horn. I went by Monica's house. I said hello, but she was out kayaking somewhere else. And I went by the Hennessy's home, but they're not home yet. And so then I shot across the bay and right in.
Video of that. Did you see any dolphin or manatees?
I always see manatees, but I saw no manatees. I saw 2 dolphins. I saw a gaggle of stingrays, and I saw a couple ospreys up very close.
All the boats friendly and making sure they didn't.
That's what I'm saying. There was very few. There was a few boats that passed me, and they were small and they were fine. But yeah, I didn't have a problem. Usually getting through that channel, it's on a holiday is tough, but
I want to thank, was it Matt that helped us get the kayak out of the water, because it wasn't exactly I was videotaping, so it was hard for me to help get the boat up. So did you go back and tip them like you're?
They did.
Okay, good. So, all right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. Another Tuesdays with the mayor. And again, we'll be back Saturday at Wahoo Willie's big show. Kevin Ruane to talk about the Resiliency Committee and answer all your questions about how that money is going to be passed out. In the Friday newsletter, you're going to hear the ideas for workforce housing from Bill Veach. So you're going to want to make sure you're registered for that. You can always support the show. You know how to do that just by going on this website here and, donating a coffee or two. I think I changed it to beer over the Memorial Day weekend. So now I have to change it back to coffee or, PayPal or whatever. Or, you don't need to give us anything. We're fine the way it is. She's going to have flat hair in June if we don't pick it up a little bit. So thank you
That's
all
not true.
for tuning in. I'm just kidding. You have a great night, and we'll see you Saturday morning on Fort Myers Beach. Bye-bye.